Hey, what's up everyone, Danny here, and in this video I'm going to be pairing an older processor with a newer graphics card to see how feasible it is. For the most part, modern day CPUs far exceed the requirements for gaming, and games have become more heavily reliant on GPUs, so much so that a lot of modern day games will run just fine with older CPUs. This is why in most gaming builds, you'll see optimal performance if you pump more money into the graphics card rather than the other way around. Of course, this does not cover all situations, as some games are more reliant on the CPU than others. If you go around the internet looking for benchmarks, you'll only find results that pair parts of similar generations. It's harder to find results that pair old parts with new parts. To show you this with real-time gameplay, I'm going to be using the Overwatch Extreme Budget Build because it has an old Phenom 2 955 in it, and we're going to pair it with a graphics card that came many years after it. I'm going to overclock the 955 to see if I can minimize the amount it bottlenecks the system. And if you haven't seen the previous videos of the system that kind of detail the baseline performance, I'll link them in the description section below so you can kind of get caught up. But for everyone else who's already seen it and knows how the system performed back then, let's check out how it performs now with the upgrades. The stock AMD cooler that came with the 955 was super loud and wasn't the best at cooling, especially if we're going to overclock, so I decided to grab a Hyper Evo 212 for this. I was able to find a used one on Amazon Warehouse for $22.50, so I'll add that to the running cost. Even though it was marked as used, it basically came in new condition, so this was an amazing price for one of the most highly regarded air coolers out there. Installation sucked as always though. I've installed so many of these over the years, and every time it's still just as annoying to do. But hey, once it's on, the performance is awesome, and it's really hard to find anything else that can beat it for the cost. For the GPU, I was originally going to go with an R9 290X, but the power supply wouldn't support it, so I had to go with the GTX 970. Wattage wise it was fine, but cables and connection wise it wouldn't have worked because it doesn't have any 8-pin connectors, let alone the 2 needed for the 290X. The GTX 970 only needed one 8-pin connector, and I had adapters that came with it to make it possible. I used a dual Molex 4-pin to 6-pin adapter and a 6-pin to 8-pin adapter to make it work. If this makes you feel uneasy, don't worry about it. For all the articles out there that claim using Molex connectors to power your GPU is a bad idea, I can dig up counter ones that say it's perfectly fine, especially consider this is a Y cable pulling from two 4-pin Molexes and not just a single one. Since the release of Pascal, the GTX 970 has been going for around $180 used, so we'll subtract $60 for the 660 being taken out and add in $180 for the 970. After these upgrades, the total cost of the system comes out to $322.50. I overclocked the 955 to 4 GHz at 1.5 volts. After doing that, I ran Prime 95 to load it up heavily and monitored the temperature to check it for stability. It ran with no problems, and the temperatures were well below the max safe operating temperature, so now it's time to see how it performs. Alright, so first off we have Grand Theft Auto Online. And I'm going to be using my camera again to record. I know I can use NVIDIA Shadowplay because we have a much more powerful graphics card, but I want to keep the comparison apples to apples. Shadowplay is a lot lighter than programs like OBS and Fraps, but the thing is, it still does take some resources, and I saw it in the benchmarks that I did get frame drops that were noticeable. So I'm going to be using my camera the Getaway because I really want to show the exact comparison side by side since I used the camera before I put in the 970 and overclocked the CPU. Alright, we're in game, and I have the settings exactly the same as when I had the GTX 660 and the CPU at stock settings, so I'll show you that right now. But it's 1080p. Let me make sure VSync is off. Okay, it's off. And all the densities and distance scaling is on maxed. And I left the texture quality at normal because with the GTX 660, it couldn't handle anything higher than normal. The VRAM was just over capacity. So for an apples to apples comparison, I'm going to leave this the same. And everything else is for the most part very high. And just to recap from the previous video, we were getting an average of 35 to 45 frames per second on this setting. Alright, so we're seeing above 50 frames per second, pretty constant, and anywhere up to 60 it looks like. And the reason, again, I do all my testing in the car is because this is where I've seen the lowest frame rate. And as you can see, the CPU is still bottlenecking the system. The GPU is only at half load. I'm starting to think that the 970, it might not have been necessary to put it in the system, because if you remember from the previous video, the GTX 660 was not fully loaded. But I mean, if you think of the overall price of the system, playing GTA on very high at 50 to 60 FPS is not that bad at all. and the RAM is starting to creep up close to the 8 gigabytes that we have in the system. I'm not running anything in the background, like there's no extra Google Chrome tabs open or anything. This is all GTA and maybe the on-screen recording software adding to that. Alright, that's the GTA results. Let's look at The Witcher 3. If you remember from last time, I had the settings basically set to medium for the graphics, and then for post-processing it was set to low. And we were getting 35 to 40 frames per second. So let's see how we do now with the 970 and overclock CPU. Alright, so from the start you can already see that the CPU is the bottleneck. Why did I say it like that? Okay, yep, CPU is bottleneck, but we are getting 50, okay, it just dropped there, but yeah, for the most part above 50 FPS. Underwater, or somehow we're getting higher underwater. So maybe I was wrong about thinking that underwater gives you lower frame rates. Okay, so let's run around and frolic in the fields and roll everywhere. Alright, so we're getting now pretty stable 60 plus frames per second, and as always we gotta try to kill, what are these guys called again? This is how much I don't play this game, except for benchmarks. I like to call them the water guys, but they're actually called drowners, because apparently they try to drown you. Alright, so fighting them right now without watching the screen, because I have to watch the frames. Mid 60s to almost 70 FPS, not bad. Let's see if I can kill them without watching. This is like texting and driving, except reading and battling. Alright, I actually managed to kill all of them. So 65 to 70 frames per second it looks like. So I'll kill this one too. And if I'm still alive, which I am. Alright, let's go riding on the horse. This is something I usually don't do because I die too much. But kind of like in Grand Theft Auto, let's see if we can go fast enough where the scene changes causes the frames to drop. Alright. Well, I'm going as fast as I can. And I'm running into walls, but it looks like, yeah, so there's not that much fluctuation with Witcher 3. It's, oh, there we go, we got some drop there, but that was only temporary. We're back up to 60 to mid 60s. Not too bad. And if you look in the top left, you can see that even though the CPU is bottlenecking the system, Witcher 3 is using more of the graphics card than Grand Theft Auto does. So we're getting more usage out of the GTX 970, which is probably why we're seeing a much more noticeable increase in frame rate here. But this is probably going to be it for the Witcher 3 test. Really happy with the results. Alright, I lied. Might as well do this since we're here already. Let's go to Ultra, and for post-processing we're only gonna leave it on medium because I don't notice the difference on these. Alright, what do we got? Oh man, look at that motion blur. I'm not sure if you can see it because I'm recording the screen with a camera, but there is motion blur, and this is Ultra with medium settings, so I'll say this is like very high settings. Still a solid 30 plus, oh, even 40 frames per second. So for everyone who wanted to see it at really high settings, this sub $300 computer can run it at 40 FPS. I need to find something to kill though. There we go. That's alright. How do I get off? Dismount. I'm gonna die because I have like no health. Hold B. Alright, let's go. I need to stay alive for long enough to see the frames. Alright, we're at like 45 frames per second trying to fight and dodge. Alright, 40 to 45 frames per second on Ultra with medium post-processing. Not bad. Let's go to Overwatch. For the options, we had preset. Whoa, it thinks I should be playing on Ultra now with the graphics card in there. But we're gonna go and do the same thing. High, and then let's see, where's VSync? Okay, it should be off. So if you remember last time, we were getting anywhere from 50 to 60 FPS. So let's see if we can get much higher than that now. CPU at 90, high 90% load. It doesn't look like it's changed too much, but the overall average and minimum FPS has gone up, which is good. We're floating mostly around 60, but we'll see what happens when we start fighting. The CPU last time was already the bottleneck, so putting the 970 in here might not have done anything. Man, I'm having a great game, but the performance increase from the added components and overclocking is not that great. Oh, come on. I just want to win this so badly so I can end the video with me winning. Okay, Roadhog again. When you meet your counterpart on the other team and they are better than you, that's like the most disappointing thing in the world. Gotcha. Oh, and then when you beat the other counterpart because you shoved them into a wall, except I'm supposed to save my ult. What am I doing? Well, hopefully I can get another one before they rush this at the last minute. Where are you at? That's right. Oh, jeez. Oh, okay, I got another ult. 30 seconds left. Come on. Okay. Oh! I pressed Q instead of E! Wrong finger! I fat fingered it. Crap. Oh my god. Keep him off, keep him off. Alright. Nice. I didn't even watch the frames near the end of that game, but I would have basically expected a better performance increase because we did have a 20% CPU, more than 20% CPU overclock. It was more like 25 to 30%. And we threw a way better graphics card in there. And this is exactly the reason why I do real-time benchmarks, because if you were to ask somebody what the frame rate change on Overwatch would be from a stock 955 and a GTX 660 to if you increased it to a 970 and overclocked it to 4 gigahertz, they would not have given you this answer, I'm pretty sure. They would have predicted something much higher because that's what I was expecting. But yeah, that's it for this video, you guys. Hopefully we all learned something from this. And now I can finally get rid of this computer, sell it to my stepbrother to recoup my money back, and then we can get on to the next budget build, whenever that may be. But thanks for watching. If you guys liked the video, as always, leave a like. If you're new to the channel and like the content and the format of my videos, then I hope you consider subscribing. But I will see you on the next video. Bye.